This restlessness in your spirit, it's not anxiety, it's activation. You weren't born to blend in, you were tuned to stand out, not for applause, but for assignment. They called it sensitivity. God calls it spiritual hearing. They said you were too much. Heaven says you were measured for mystery. Was it emotional chaos, or was it the first sound wave of your commissioning? Was the silence punishment, or preparation for a sound only the chosen can hear? Stay until the end, because what's about to be revealed may finally explain why the noise of this world never satisfied you. You were never meant to hear them. You were created to hear Him. Welcome to Chosen One's prophecy, where the hidden are unsealed and the marked are gathered, where divine interruptions become heavenly instructions. For it is written in John 10:27, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." So if your soul has been aching with a frequency you can't explain, if your dreams have carried echoes that don't belong to this world, if silence has been louder than sound, stay, because what you're about to hear may explain your entire life. The frequency is the evidence. You were marked before you were born. The ache you've carried, the knowing you couldn't explain, these were not emotional echoes. They were the earliest signs of divine tuning. The chosen are not identified by loudness. They are found in silence, by what they sense when no one else feels anything at all. God did not send you into the world to conform. He scattered your soul like a seed that only awakens to a sacred sound. Joseph had dreams before he had language for betrayal. David felt the oil long before the crown. Mary heard the angel before the world heard her child cry. You weren't imagining things. You were hearing a frequency that few are qualified to perceive. You weren't dramatic. You were divine. You weren't too sensitive. You were spiritually wired, and the world didn't recognize it because heaven hadn't revealed it yet. Let this settle. Let the remembrance rise. Hidden by heaven, tuned by silence. Every chosen one is hidden before they are heralded. Your silence was sacred architecture, not punishment. Isaiah 49:2 says, "He made me a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver." The arrow was ready, but still hidden. God doesn't reveal His instruments until they are sharpened by silence. And you have been sharpened. You mistook delay for denial, but you were in divine quarantine, kept from the noise so you could hear the tone of heaven. You weren't forgotten. You were being fine-tuned. In the stillness, your ears were trained to recognize a whisper that shakes kingdoms, a vibration that doesn't just pass through the air, but through your DNA. It was never about what you could say. It was about what you could hear when nothing was being said. And when God speaks again, you'll know it instantly. The stillness shaped your ears for the storm, forged in the sound of suffering. Suffering has a sound, and it's not chaos, it's calibration. Every betrayal, every night you cried with no explanation, every time you asked God why it had to hurt so much, He wasn't being cruel. He was building resonance. You were forged like steel, under pressure, not in comfort. Like Job, who lost everything but gained a double portion. Like Elijah, who sat under a broom tree only to rise with fire. Like Hannah, who wept until her womb released a prophet. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. Pain didn't destroy your purpose, it sharpened your spiritual signal. You were vibrating at a higher level, and that's why you couldn't stay in old rooms anymore. Because what broke you also built your ears for destiny. What hurt you taught heaven how to trust you. And now, the frequency is shifting again. Can you feel it? The danger of deafness. There is a danger in ignoring the call. Not everyone who is chosen remains aligned. Some hear the frequency, then mute it with compromise. Spiritual deafness is not silence. It's a soul that has stopped listening. Hebrews 3:15 warns, "Today, if you hear His voice, do not harden your hearts." Every time you ignore your inner knowing, you lower your vibration. Every time you choose comfort over calling, you distort your divine sound. The cost of disobedience is not just delay, it's dissonance. You were made to harmonize with heaven. To live out of sync with it is to live divided within. But God, in His mercy, sends this message to recalibrate you. You can hear again. You can realign. You can return to the sound. What was lost can still be restored. The frequency of authority. When the chosen embrace the frequency, they don't just hear. They become conduits of power. You've walked into rooms and shifted atmospheres without speaking. That wasn't intuition. That was spiritual authority. Luke 10:19 says, "I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions." Authority is not always loud. It's recognized in the realm of the spirit. Demons know when the chosen awaken. When your frequency rises, it disrupts systems. It offends mediocrity. It shakes what is unclean. And that's why they've tried to silence you for so long. You carry sound waves that break chains, not just for yourself, but for others. You weren't just meant to hear heaven. You were meant to release it. If this resonates with your soul, comment 444. Right now, as a prophetic act. You are listening, you are aligned, and you are not alone. The darkness knew before you did hell, has known who you are longer than you have. That's why the attacks came early. That's why you were targeted in the womb. That's why abuse tried to muffle your voice before it ever spoke. The enemy didn't fear your past. He feared your frequency. In the spirit realm, identity is recognized by vibration, and yours was dangerous. Just like Moses, hidden in reeds while Pharaoh slaughtered destinies. Just like Jesus, hunted before he ever preached. You've wondered why your life was harder than others, why the warfare never made sense. It made perfect sense, because you were carrying something eternal. Spiritual warfare is not proof of failure. It is confirmation of prophetic threat. And if the darkness knew you were chosen, it's time you did too. Commissioned by Harmony, God does not tune you for silence. He tunes you for release. Once your frequency aligns, you become heaven's mouthpiece. A living psalm, a walking trumpet, a divine vibration in motion. Romans 8:19 says, "Creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed." The world is waiting for your sound. And now, the time for tuning has ended. The time for trembling is over. The scroll has been opened, and you are being sent. What you carry isn't a message. It's a melody from the throne. Release it. The Remnant Symphony. You are not alone. Across nations, languages, timelines, others have been hearing it too. The same restlessness, the same sacred discontent, the same supernatural pull away from the world. This isn't coincidence, it's convergence. God is raising a remnant, not just believers but sound bearers, those who don't need microphones to move mountains, those who know how to recognize their own by spirit, not appearance. And together, you form the first notes of heaven's final movement, the sound of awakening. Can you hear it? The echo that must continue. This frequency cannot stop with you. What you've received is not just revelation, it's responsibility. You are carrying echoes meant to outlive your lifetime, words that will wake nations, vibrations that will stir bloodlines, just as Elijah passed his mantle to Elisha, just as Paul charged Timothy, just as Christ breathed on the disciples. What begins in your spirit must echo in others. Your silence is no longer safe. Your sound is needed. And your obedience will become someone else's awakening. There's a reason your spirit has always resonated with what others ignored. A reason you felt called but couldn't explain the voice. You weren't misunderstood. You were misplaced in time, prepared ahead of schedule for an hour that has just begun. Heaven did not forget you. It hid you. You weren't behind. You were being built in silence until your frequency matched your assignment. And now, The signal is clear. The resonance has arrived. The scroll has unsealed. You are not just hearing heaven, you are being released by it. You have passed through the hidden furnace. You have endured the silence, the exile, the testing, and you still heard the sound. That's how we know. You have been marked, you have been forged, and now you are being sent. If your spirit knows this was confirmation, comment 797 now, as a prophetic act that you are receiving the scroll written for you. Share in the comments what part pierced you deepest, what moment made your soul tremble, because others will read it and remember their own sound. Subscribe now to Chosen One's Prophecy. This is not a channel, it's a gathering place, a meeting point for the remnant, a resonance chamber for the ones who hear what others can't. You are not alone. You are the next echo.